Michael Chandler has responded directly to Tsarukyan's latest comments, accepting his wrestling call-out and escalating an already heated situation in the lightweight division. Following Tsarukyan's dominant wrestling victory over Lance Palmer, the Armenian contender took aim at Chandler, suggesting that Iron Michael is reluctant to engage him on the mat. Those remarks quickly drew a response. Chandler acknowledged Tsarukyan's activity outside the UFC and praised his willingness to compete in grappling and wrestling events even when not booked for MMA fights. However, Chandler made it clear that respect does not mean hesitation. Chandler stated that while Tsarukyan looked impressive, Palmer did not perform at the level expected, and as a result, the performance did not convince him of any threat. Chandler confidently declared that he would absolutely smash Tsarukyan in a wrestling match and openly accepted the challenge for a bout in the Real American Freestyle Wrestling format, though he also noted that his primary focus remains on a major fight later this summer. The situation intensified further as Tsarukyan continued his verbal attacks on Paddy Pimblett. Tsarukyan reiterated that Pimblett is avoiding him because he knows he would lose the matchup. This followed controversial comments from Pimblett, who stated he hoped Tsarukyan would suffer a serious injury during a wrestling contest. Tsarukyan responded by saying Pimblett fears the fight and will delay it as long as possible, adding that he hopes Justin Gaethje knocks Pimblett out and sends him back to England. The growing drama sparked fan discussion online, with many proposing an entirely different matchup: Colby Covington versus Tsarukyan in a wrestling contest. Despite the intrigue, most fans still view Covington as the favorite due to his size advantage and established wrestling pedigree, especially after his recent dominant performance against Luke Rockhold. With multiple callouts, rivalries, and potential matchups emerging, the conversation surrounding Tsarukyan continues to gain momentum across the MMA world. The situation between Ilia Topuria and Islam Makhachev has taken on a new level of intrigue following revelations from one of Topuria's former sparring partners. The controversy centers around Alexander Chisov, who recently went viral after leaving his previous camp and traveling to Dagestan to train full-time with Makhachev's elite team. Fans were quick to speculate, labeling Chisov a spy after resurfaced photos showed him training with Topuria ahead of a potential future super fight. Chisov has now addressed the situation publicly in an interview with the Russian MMA news outlet Golos MMA, shedding light on the behind-the-scenes fallout and Topuria's reaction. According to Chisov, he had recently traveled to Spain to reconnect with former coaches and continue training. During that period, he sparred regularly, maintaining a normal routine. Before leaving, he informed Topuria of his plans and said Topuria initially had no objections to him stepping away from the camp temporarily. While training with friends, one of Chisov's coaches suggested traveling to Dagestan to train with Islam Makhachev. Chisov agreed, but emphasized that Makhachev's team needed to know he was actively training with Topuria to avoid any misunderstandings. He also personally contacted Topuria to explain the situation and ask for approval. Topuria reportedly responded calmly, telling him to do whatever he felt was best and to keep him updated. Chisov stated that during his time in Dagestan, he trained and sparred with Makhachev, but did not share any strategic information or secrets related to Topuria. However, shortly after returning, he was contacted by someone from Topuria's team and informed that Topuria was unhappy with his decision and no longer wanted him at the gym. Chisov attempted to reach Topuria directly through calls and messages, but received no response. The situation became final when he noticed Topuria had unfollowed him on social media, signaling an apparent end to their professional relationship. The revelation has fueled speculation about tension surrounding a possible future matchup between Topuria and Makhachev, adding another layer of drama to an already compelling narrative in the lightweight and featherweight divisions. Fresh off a dominant technical fall victory over former UFC middleweight champion Luke Rockhold, Colby Covington is already making headlines with bold statements about the next phase of his career. The former interim welterweight champion, who has not competed in the UFC since his doctor stoppage loss to Joaquin Buckley in December 2024, revealed that competing closer to 185 pounds has him seriously considering a permanent move to the middleweight division. Speaking at the post-fight press conference, Covington expressed confidence in his ability to thrive at the higher weight class. He emphasized his trademark endurance, claiming it would give him a significant advantage against larger opponents. According to Covington, the added strength and reduced strain from cutting weight could allow him to outperform fighters who naturally outweigh him by 20 to 30 pounds. Covington also teased the possibility of making his middleweight debut on a historic stage, suggesting his next fight could take place at the highly anticipated UFC White House event scheduled for June on the South Lawn. The idea immediately fueled fan interest, especially given the timing of recent tensions involving undefeated prospect Bo Nickal. At a recent press conference, Covington and Rockhold exchanged heated words with Nickal, openly questioning his MMA resume and criticizing the hype surrounding him following his loss to Reinier de Ridder. Nickal quickly responded on social media, calling out Covington for a middleweight bout at the UFC White House event. Nickal argued that they compete at similar weights and that the setting would be the perfect venue to settle the dispute. Despite his extended absence from the octagon, Covington remains a proven draw and continues to command attention whenever he speaks. His openness to moving up to middleweight introduces several intriguing possibilities, ranging from long-standing grudge matches to entirely new challenges against rising contenders. Covington, however, made it clear that he has little patience for opponents he views as unreliable. He criticized Nickal's recent withdrawals and questioned his commitment, stating that he prefers facing dependable competitors who consistently show up to compete. While the matchup remains speculative, the combination of Covington's middleweight ambitions, Nickal's public callout, and the looming UFC White House event has ignited serious discussion across the MMA community. Michael Bisping believes Paddy Pimblett is approaching a defining moment in his UFC career, warning that the promotion's perception of him could change quickly if he suffers a loss in his next fight. According to Bisping, Pimblett is currently enjoying momentum and promotional support, but that status is not guaranteed if results begin to slip. Bisping explained that a loss would likely end any talk of fast-tracking Pimblett toward title contention or favorable matchmaking. Instead, he believes the UFC would pivot Pimblett into a high-profile but dangerous matchup, specifically against Dan Hooker. Bisping stated that Pimblett versus Hooker would almost certainly be next if Pimblett loses, calling it a natural direction for the division. Tensions between Pimblett and Hooker have escalated rapidly over the past several days, moving beyond typical promotional trash talk. The situation intensified after Pimblett made comments involving Hooker's family, which Hooker took personally. At that point, the rivalry stopped feeling like marketing and became genuine animosity, exactly the kind of storyline the UFC often leans into when booking fights. Hooker is scheduled to face Benoit Saint-Denis in an important lightweight bout in the coming weeks, a fight that could heavily impact the division's rankings. Bisping noted that regardless of Hooker's result, Pimblett losing his next fight would likely place him directly on a collision course with the New Zealander. In addition to the Hooker feud, Pimblett has also taken shots at Justin Gaethje's training camp, mocking Gaethje for sparring with Kamaru Usman and other elite wrestlers. Pimblett argued that those training partners do not resemble his own style, suggesting the preparation would be ineffective. Bisping emphasized that Pimblett is not making many allies within the lightweight division, but also pointed out that friendships do not matter in professional fighting. However, he drew a clear line regarding trash talk, stating that while criticism of performance, appearance, or fighting style is fair game, bringing families, mothers, or deceased individuals into the conversation should always be off limits. According to Bisping, if Pimblett wins, the discussion becomes irrelevant. But if he loses, a fight with Dan Hooker could materialize very quickly, marking a pivotal turning point in Pimblett's UFC journey. Chandler Tsarukyan has issued a direct challenge to Michael Chandler following his victory over Lance Palmer at Real American Freestyle 5, calling for a head-to-head wrestling match and reigniting debate around their respective grappling credentials. After the bout, Tsarukyan questioned Chandler's willingness to compete outside the UFC, suggesting that while Chandler often calls out opponents, he avoids certain challenges once the conversation turns serious. Tsarukyan acknowledged Chandler's wrestling background, but downplayed its impact, stating that although Chandler might have a chance in a pure wrestling setting, there would be no opportunity for success in an MMA fight under UFC rules. Tsarukyan emphasized that while he is primarily an MMA fighter, his extensive wrestling experience gives him confidence in any grappling-based matchup. Chandler quickly responded during an interview with the Schmo, offering a measured but confident reply. He praised Tsarukyan for remaining active and competing in grappling and wrestling matches even when not booked for UFC bouts, calling that commitment respectable. However, Chandler made it clear that respect does not translate to concern. According to Chandler, while Tsarukyan delivered an impressive performance, Lance Palmer did not appear to be at his best, which affected the overall impression of the match. Chandler stated that based on what he saw, he would absolutely smash Tsarukyan in a wrestling contest and openly accepted the idea of facing him in the real American freestyle wrestling ring. At the same time, Chandler noted that his primary focus remains on a major opportunity expected later in the summer. The exchange did not end there. Tsarukyan fired back on social media by reposting Chandler's interview on X and dismissing his comments with a brief but pointed response, sarcastically remarking that he did not realize Chandler was also a comedian. With both fighters trading barbs publicly and expressing confidence in their wrestling abilities, the possibility of a crossover grappling match has captured the attention of fans. While no official bout has been announced, the ongoing back and forth has added another compelling storyline to an already crowded lightweight landscape. Daniel Cormier has shared an amusing behind-the-scenes story from his time on the Elf reality show, revealing that he brought his Brazilian jiu-jitsu coach along, only to realize once filming began that the coach's expertise would not be needed. Cormier explained that his understanding of the show before arriving was that it would function similarly to The Ultimate Fighter, with two teams led by rival coaches competing across multiple disciplines of mixed martial arts. Expecting a full MMA format, Cormier carefully assembled a coaching staff that reflected every major aspect of the sport. He brought along his boxing coach, his kickboxing coach, and his jiu-jitsu coach, fully prepared to lead his team into what he believed would be a complete MMA competition against John Jones' squad. Cormier said his mindset was simple: build the strongest possible coaching unit and outwork the opposing team in every phase of the game. He envisioned traveling overseas, training intensively, and proving which team had the superior coaching and preparation across striking, grappling, and overall fight IQ. However, once he arrived in Thailand, Cormier quickly realized that his expectations did not match reality. The competition format was not mixed martial arts at all. Instead, the bouts were strictly boxing contests, albeit contested with MMA gloves. That revelation immediately changed the dynamic of his preparation and coaching approach. As a result, Cormier found himself with a jiu-jitsu coach on staff who had little opportunity to contribute in a meaningful way, given the absence of grappling or ground fighting in the competition. He admitted that while the coach's presence was well-intentioned, the rule set simply did not allow for that skill set to be utilized. Cormier shared the story lightheartedly, acknowledging the misunderstanding with humor while highlighting how drastically a competition format can alter strategy and preparation. The revelation offered fans an inside look at the unexpected challenges fighters and coaches can face when stepping into reality-based combat sports shows, especially when assumptions about the rules turn out to be incorrect. Waldo Cortez-Acosta is embracing an extremely active schedule as he continues to build momentum in the UFC heavyweight division. The rising contender is set to face Derek Lewis at UFC 324, a matchup that will mark his 6th fight within a 12-month span, an impressive level of activity for a heavyweight fighter. In a recent interview with Home of Fight, Cortez-Acosta made it clear that he has no intention of slowing down. When asked about his plans beyond his upcoming bout, he revealed an ambitious goal for the following year. According to Cortez-Acosta, he is targeting 6 fights in 2026 alone, beginning shortly after January 24th. Rather than settling for 4 or 5 appearances, he wants to maintain the same pace that has defined his recent run. Cortez-Acosta explained that achieving 6 fights in 2026 would require him to return to competition quickly after facing Lewis, likely within a month or two. He acknowledged the tight turnaround, but expressed full confidence in his conditioning and ability to stay ready year-round. Part of his preparation includes spending extended time in the Dominican Republic, where he plans to travel toward the end of March or early April for nearly a month. During that time, Cortez-Acosta intends to continue training consistently, emphasizing conditioning and endurance. He noted that staying active through basketball, running, and outdoor workouts has played a major role in maintaining his stamina and overall fitness. He also credited his father for pushing him physically during training sessions, particularly with cardio-focused routines. Despite traveling, Cortez-Acosta made it clear that his training will not pause. He plans to stay fight-ready regardless of location, ensuring he can accept opportunities on short notice. That mindset reflects a growing trend among fighters looking to stay active and capitalize on momentum, rather than waiting long periods between bouts. With his upcoming fight against Derek Lewis and a clear plan for rapid turnarounds, Cortez-Acosta is positioning himself as one of the most active heavyweights on the roster. If he succeeds, 2026 could be a defining year that accelerates his rise within the division.